In a world marked by growing inequalities and global crises, local governments stand at the front line of action. We face the challenge of building societies grounded in rights and driven by universal public services. The municipal movement is advancing the local social covenant. This is not just a commitment, it is a call to action. Housing is a right, not a privilege. Local governments demand policies that ensure access to adequate, affordable, and dignified housing for all. Culture is the backbone of democracy and social cohesion. We fight for cultural rights as a pillar of human dignity and collective memory. Without strong local finances, there is no local democracy. Fiscal justice and direct access to resources are essential to deliver public services that leave no one behind. The climate emergency is a human rights crisis. We must act locally to ensure a just transition that protects communities, ecosystems, and future generations. Health is a public good, not a commodity. We champion universal, community-based health services to guarantee care for all. Care, digital rights, time, and cities after dark are the new essentials. Cities and territories are reclaiming public services as foundations of democratic societies. Peace is built in our streets, in our neighborhoods, in our communities. Local governments are key actors in conflict prevention and fostering social cohesion. Hunger is a collective failure. We need territorialized food systems that guarantee access to healthy, sustainable, and locally produced food. The local social covenant secures political commitments to guarantee these fundamental rights. We are developing sustainable, concrete solutions that address today's challenges while securing a just future for the next generations. We bring local voices to global tables, ensuring that cities and territories shape international agendas through our diverse and interconnected multilateral strategies. The local social covenant is not just our strategy, it is our political determination. It is a commitment to dignity, justice, and collective action. Together, we are shaping the future through a bold, inclusive, and renewed municipal movement.
Good morning. I'm Megan Edwards from the UCLG World Secretariat, and I'm happy to welcome you to the fourth meeting of UCLG's policy councils, convened around our local social covenant and the new charter agenda for the human rights in the city. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that interpretation is available in English, Spanish, and French. We also encourage you to keep your cameras on in order to make this call as interactive as possible. It's my pleasure to hand the floor to Albert Lladó, Head of Policy at UCLG, for the opening segment. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan, and welcome everyone. Good morning and good afternoon for those joining from far away. It's a pleasure to have you with us today in this fourth policy council that is helping to shape the mandate contained in the local social covenant ahead of our World Congress in Tangier. As you know, this is part of a process of written exchange between our political leadership and the town halls, the organized civil society mechanism for a structural dialogue that UCLG has put in place through the letters from the local social covenant. This is the last session today, and we'll have a special component, as Megan was mentioning. We will also discuss the connections between the covenant and the global charter agenda for human rights in the city developed by UCLG's Committee on Social Inclusion, Participatory Democracy, and Human Rights, and see how these two processes are effectively aligned in the way towards Tangier. to frame this conversation and set the scene for today, I have the pleasure to be joined today by Emilia Saiz, Secretary General of UCLG, and Philippe Rio, Mayor of Grigny and co-president of this committee of UCLG on social inclusion, participatory democracy, and human rights. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to land the floor to our SG, Emilia Saiz. Emilia, welcome.
Thank you very much, Albert, Megan, everybody. Thank you in particular to Philippe Rio for joining us today. These are very intensive periods for elected officials in France, so we're really grateful for the commitment that you're showing by joining us today as well. Thank you very much, President Rio. I was looking at the introductory video and I was thinking how much the world has changed since we have taken that footage, those images. And those images are actually the live images of our process together, constructing, this covenant, working towards the Pact for the Future of Humanity and taking decisions, maintaining dialogue, no matter how difficult times have been, to ensure that our shared agenda, that the legacy of democracy, human rights, and local service delivery are kept alive by our movement, and that we take our principles and our legacy to a new horizon, right? That is what we have been doing, but we have to acknowledge that we're doing this in a rapidly changing world, in very fluid situations, in a very polarized moment, multipolar, we call it, and really marked by armed conflict in a dimension that we had not seen before for a very long time. And so in this context, and having been together with many of you, and in particular the political leadership and our partners, only 1 week ago in Barcelona during our annual retreat, I think it is important to recall that the process that brings us together today to discuss a new generation of universal local public services through a social covenant is beyond a process towards a Congress, is actually the definition of new inclusive instruments for our movement to ensure that the policy that is pushed by, that is promoted by our World Organization is co-created with organized civil society, and that is owned by our political membership. And Megan was saying it, Albert as well, this is our fourth discussion online, but we have had several moments for discussion during our governing bodies gatherings. And what we have been doing up until now is to ensure that we define the high-level political commitments that will need to uphold democracy, rights such as housing, food, or culture. And the next step is going to be define the actionable solutions, the types of agendas that we need to deliver on those commitments. In parallel, we are defining multilateral strategies to anchor the priorities of the global agendas in localized action, actually with the aim of also influencing those global agendas and not only implementing them. So this is why we're kicking off as well these 100 days of local multilateralism. Our constituency still believes that multilateralism is the way forward, that rules and dialogue matter, that we are better when we act together. And this is why the local social covenant is actually the outcome of our World Congress. The instrument itself is an outcome, but it will also produce a roadmap for a way forward. And the components of that roadmap is what we want to discuss with you today. We have 8 thematic pillars: housing, local finance, food systems, public health, climate justice, culture, local conflict prevention, and new essentials. You have seen that in the introductory video. And they are grounded in the transversal principles of care, anti-racism, and youth co-leadership. I would say feminism is also a very important part of those transversal legacy that we will need to introduce in our high-level commitments. And care is more than a transversal approach, really the lens by which we are trying to define every single agenda, that new generation of public services and the new essentials that we will need to look into in a changing world, not only because of the conflicts that we are facing, but also because of new instruments like artificial intelligence and the different role that is going to create in society for humans, the impact that it will have in the future of work, and our perception of human rights as well. So we today want to put a special focus, as Albert was saying, on the interaction between the social covenant and all these pillars, and one actionable commitment that we hope the Charter Agenda on Human Rights will represent for our movement. We really hope that we reach the Tangier Congress united in our diversity, committed to peace, to local multilateralism, and to delivering good local public services for communities around the world that will actually impact the lives not only of these, but also of future generations. The discussions that we're having today and those that we will have in Tangier will matter. They will make a difference. So we are really very grateful to all the organized civil society organizations that are leading the different letters that are being exchanged with our political leadership, and with each of the political leaders that are joining us to make sure that these worlds continues to make sense and to deliver for communities everywhere, leaving no one and no place behind. So thank you very much, Albert, for giving me the opportunity to introduce the discussions. Back to you.
Thank you, Emilia, for your words and for giving us this framework, because it's true that from what happened in the previous sessions to where we are today, the world looks significantly different, and this will inevitably affect not only our work as organization, but also the role of each and every local and regional governments throughout the world. I will now give the floor to the mayor of Grigny, Monsieur Philippe Riot, who is the president, the co-president of the UCLG Committee on Social Inclusion, Participatory Democracy, and Human Rights, also to give us the perspective on what this Global Charter Agenda for Human Rights in the City is looking, and how it can relate to this new reality and this need for local and regional governments to step up in the way to ensure and protect rights in such a changing global landscape. Mayor Riot, whenever you're ready, thanks for joining us.
Bonjour, chers collègues. Je suis ravi d'être avec vous pour cette séance très importante pour notre mouvement municipal mondial. Très heureux de participer à cette réunion de l'ensemble des conseils politiques qui rassemblent toutes les grandes priorités et les défis de notre réseau partout dans le monde. Bien évidemment, le logement, les systèmes alimentaires, l'éradication de la faim, la culture de paix et la prévention des conflits, le soin, la santé, la justice climatique ou encore la justice en matière d'eau et d'accès à l'eau, sans oublier la culture. heureux également dans cette période, comme l'a rappelé Emilia, une période d'élections municipales en France. Le premier tour des élections municipales se déroulera dimanche prochain en France. Vous savez, la France, c'est 36 000 communes. 36 000 communes et aujourd'hui près de 900 000 candidats mobilisés pour s'engager dans leur ville et changer les choses. Je peux vous témoigner, puisque c'est une période intense de rencontres avec nos concitoyennes et nos concitoyens, vous dire que dans nos localités, la situation du monde fait peur à la population. La situation nationale française inquiète énormément. Et l'élection municipale, la ville, le village, est un espace politique de refuge et en même temps de défi majeur, puisque les habitantes et les habitants de nos villes sont percutés de tous ces défis. Et donc, la situation nous oblige aujourd'hui. Pour revenir à notre sujet, vous l'avez compris, la diversité des thèmes montre une chose très claire. Les gouvernements locaux sont aujourd'hui au cœur des réponses des crises globales. Nous sommes le niveau politique de gouvernement où les droits se construisent, se co-construisent avec la société civile, se fabriquent, se vivent concrètement et parfois même se fragilisent de façon concrète. Grigny est une ville intermédiaire, une ville aux défis humains importants. Plus de 50% de la population a moins de 30 ans. Près de 50% de la population vit sous le seuil de pauvreté. Les défis des droits humains sont donc immenses. Il y a aussi des défis urbains, de logement, de réchauffement climatique, d'adaptation au réchauffement climatique. Et vous l'avez compris, ces défis, ils sont quotidiens et ils se résolvent dans la quotidienneté. J'insiste donc sur l'importance de la nouvelle charte Agenda mondial des droits humains dans la ville. Lors de notre précédente rencontre mondiale à Daejeon, en 2022, nous avions lancé un mouvement, une campagne. 10, 100, 1000 villes pour les droits humains. Cette charte agenda proposée est donc un document stratégique pour notre mouvement. Cette charte doit être la source d'inspiration pour les villes, mais aussi un outil opérationnel pour nos politiques publiques, proposant des orientations, des recommandations concrètes sur des exemples transformables pour intégrer les droits humains dans toutes nos politiques publiques. Localiser les droits humains, c'est protéger, émanciper et accompagner les mutations du monde dans les villes. Vous l'avez compris, l'ambition de la charte est d'aligner le local et le global. Elle nous offre un cadre commun pour relier l'ensemble de nos priorités: logement, climat, alimentation, soins, culture, finances publiques, autour d'une approche fondée sur les droits humains, la justice sociale et la démocratie locale. Nous l'avons dit et redit, les droits humains ne sont pas un choix, c'est une obligation de nos villes. Et la situation mondiale nous oblige. La charte agenda nous permet donc de repenser l'action locale sans cesse pour réaliser les droits humains en les adaptant aux réalités de ce monde. Nous en sommes donc les garants et cela nous permet d'affirmer une nouvelle génération de droits humains, le droit aux soins, le droit au numérique ou encore une justice climatique internationale, sans oublier des villes inclusives et des villes féministes et nous sommes au lendemain de la Journée internationale de lutte pour le droit des femmes. La charte Agenda s'inscrit pleinement dans la dynamique de la coalition sociale locale, au cœur des enjeux de notre rendez-vous de Tanger en juin 2026. Elle constitue un pilier structurant. Elle permet de donner une cohérence politique à nos engagements, mais aussi de renforcer notre capacité collective à agir dans un contexte international incertain et repenser les services publics essentiels avec une approche fondée sur les droits humains. Pour nous, ici, à Grigny, ville intermédiaire, ville de périphérie, les droits humains ne sont pas une déclaration de principe. Ils sont une boussole, un cap, une ambition pour l'action publique. Le droit à la dignité humaine, à l'éducation, la lutte contre le racisme et les discriminations de genre, la participation démocratique, l'environnement sain dans des logements salubres et des services publics essentiels de qualité doivent guider plus que jamais nos décisions quotidiennes. Et je peux vous assurer qu'elles sont au cœur du programme que nous portons ici à Grigny. Et je serai encore toute l'après-midi et toute la soirée en contact avec la population pour parler des droits humains. Notre objectif est clair, faire de cette charte Agenda un document de référence pour l'ensemble de ces GLU, pour le mouvement municipal mondial, un cadre partagé pour affirmer que les villes sont des acteurs centraux pour la protection et la promotion des droits humains, oui, pour innover, s'épanouir et résister. Chers collègues, je vous invite à considérer cette charte non pas comme un document supplémentaire, non pas comme un processus supplémentaire, de trop ou en plus, mais comme un outil politique puissant pour renforcer, pour relier et pour amplifier tout ce que nous faisons déjà de très bonne qualité. Je vous remercie de ce moment que vous m'avez consacré et je me réjouis de poursuivre un petit peu encore les échanges avec vous. Merci, chers collègues. Merci, Emilia. Merci pour votre engagement.
Merci, Monsieur Rio. On comprend très bien le moment pour vous, un moment final de campagne. Donc, encore merci pour nous rejoindre aujourd'hui, même si vous pourrez rester que pour un instant. Merci aussi pour faire les liens entre les deux processus et l'importance de la charte Agenda comme un outil politique qui ne soit pas complémentaire, mais qui est à opérationnaliser les droits de l'homme et même les processus en soi-même de la coalition locale sociale. Well, with this, we would give, for conclusion, the moment for final remarks. Thank you again, Emilia. Thank you again, Mayor Rio. We will now start actually listening to what Emilia was presenting as the process of exchange between the civil society organized and the policy councillors. We want to, in the end, make this process with a lot of ownership as part of a political process, that it's a discussion and it brings political recommendations from the leadership. And as you know, it's been the process for the 3 previous meetings. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to present among us one of these leading cities in the space of the Committee on Social Inclusion, Participatory Democracy and Human Rights. I'm joined today by Alexandra Rezaie, City Councillor of the City of Vienna and a spokesperson for human rights. I think she's already with us. Hi, it's a pleasure to have you, and the floor is yours.
Hi, can you hear me? Oh, perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it's really a great pleasure to represent the City of Vienna today. I am a member of the Legislative Assembly of Vienna, and I have the honor to be on the political committees for social affairs and health, as well as education and controlling. I serve as Vienna's spokesperson for human rights for the Social Democratic Party. Both my political mandate and my commitment to the global human city, right cities movement bring me here today. UCLG is the global voice of cities and local governments. In times like these, we need strong local levels more than ever, because cities are the closest of the people. The local social covenant shows how local governments can translate global challenges into concrete actions. Its priorities, developed together with political leaders, administrations, and also the civil society, align closely with Vienna's efforts as a human rights city. I would also like to highlight the updated Charter Agenda for Human Rights in the city. It is a valuable instrument for municipalities. The new version addresses key contemporary issues such as digital privacy, climate challenges, and growing inequalities in urban areas. In Vienna, human rights have guided political and administrative decisions for more than 10 years. We work closely with the civil society and also with various groups, such as young people, seniors, and also people with disabilities, to make human rights visible in everyday life. Let me briefly mention two key topics of the local social covenant: housing and also health. For us, housing is a human right. We focus on secure tenancy, strong public and social housing, and sound urban planning. Safe and inclusive public spaces are one of our central priorities. We also believe that health is a public common good. Local governments must protect it and ensure equitable access for everyone. Vienna looks forward to the World Congress and strongly supports adopting the new Charter Agenda and linking it with the local social covenant. As a city that contributed to the development of the Charter, we encourage more cities to join us and apply this framework in their daily work. Let me close with a personal message. Cities are the places where people meet, where they struggle, where they hope, and where they build their future. When cities stand up for human rights, they give people confidence that dignity, safety, and fairness are possible. Let us continue this work together with courage and with the shared belief that every city can be a place where human rights truly come to life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor, and thank you not only for making the pledge from the City of Vienna, but also going through concrete policies that the city has been putting forward and that are very much aligned with the importance that is bringing together both elected officials and civil society to find out and build up solutions together, which is at the very core of the experience and the willingness of the local social covenant and the town hall process. Thank you again. I will now give the floor to the councillor of the city of Katbalongan, Stephanie Uitan. It's a pleasure to have you again with us. It's always welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues and fellow advocates for a healthier world, greetings of good evening from the city of Katbalongan. As we gather to reflect the local social covenant emerging global charter agenda for human rights in the city, we are reminded of a simple truth, that health of our people is the foundation of a strong and resilient communities. As a local government policymaker, I firmly believe that health must be treated as a public good and a fundamental human right. Access to health care should never be a privilege for a few. It is a responsibility that governments must uphold for every member of our communities. Local governments must stand at the front line of this responsibility. In our work, we see clearly that health is shaped not only by hospitals and clinics, but also by the conditions in which people live their daily lives. Access to clean water, safe housing, proper sanitation, reliable transportation, and healthy environments all play an important role in determining public health. These realities remind us that protecting health requires coordinated and practical action at the local level. For this reason, I strongly support the call for equal access to healthcare, including the universal health coverage, which the Philippines is currently implementing. Alongside this, we must continue strengthening primary healthcare and preventive systems, investments in community health programs, early screening, vaccination, nutrition initiatives, and public health education allow us to address health concerns early and reduce long-term risks. However, universal health coverage can only be felt by our people if facilities, infrastructure, and systems are in place, even down to the smallest units in our community. The only time we can truly say that public health is upheld as a human right is when services are accessible and ready to serve the people who need them most. In the Philippines, we see this principle in action through our barangay health units and community clinics, which serve as the first point of contact for many Filipinos seeking care. These local facilities, supported by community health workers, play a critical role in delivering vaccinations, maternal care, and health education, and early screening. Strengthening these grassroots health services ensures that healthcare reaches people where they are, especially in the underserved communities. Public health must also be shaped from the ground up. Communities should not only receive health services, they should also help shape them. Governments, healthcare providers, civil society organizations, communities, and partners have firsthand knowledge on the realities in their communities. Therefore, they must work together to strengthen health systems that are inclusive and people-centered. This commitment means ensuring that no community is overlooked and that the most vulnerable are always protected. And we build stronger trust between governments and the people we care and we serve. As a public official and a policymaker, I personally commit to supporting a new social contract for health, one that is grounded in care, equity, and shared responsibility. I also support strengthening the role of local governments in addressing the social, environmental, and economic factors that influence health outcomes. Local governments are closest to the realities faced by our citizens, which places us in a strong position to connect health priorities with urban planning, environmental protection, social services, and local development. Strengthening local capacity will allow us to respond more effectively to challenges our communities face. Finally, it is essential that local perspectives are represented in the global health governance, policy design, and monitoring. The local social covenant and the global charter agenda for human rights in the city provide a key opportunity to ensure that the voices in the cities and local authorities are part of the global decision making. The experiences of the local governments on the ground can help shape policies that are practical, inclusive, and responsive to real needs. As we look ahead to the World Congress in Tangier, let us continue to collaborate toward the shared vision where public services are guided by human rights and where health systems reflect solidarity, fairness, and dignity. Because when we protect the health and well-being of our communities, we strengthen our societies as a whole. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Councillor, to you for touching so many issues and in a sense, reflecting the essence of what the local social covenant and both the charter agenda are aiming to achieve, which is ensuring that all these topics are understood as one sole agenda that is driven by local public service provision and it's aimed at protecting and putting forward rights and human rights in the city. I just wanted to make a quick comment on your mention on clean water, your mention on housing, your mention on vaccination. You are actually touching upon many of the themes that the local social covenant, but also the charter agenda are trying to connect. And I think that these are agendas that are particularly relevant this year with the revision of SDG 6 on water, but also the revision of SDG 11 and the new urban agenda during the HLTF in July. Thank you as well for mentioning the importance of vaccination. We saw, and from this constituency very much, we saw the importance as a driver of equality or inequality that vaccination had during the COVID period, and having this at the center of your public policies for health, it's a very relevant recommendation that we take note of in the build-up of this policy dialogue. Thank you again. I will now give the floor to Mr. Sergei Khatilikov. He's the first Deputy Minister for External Relations and People's Affairs of the Republic of Sakha. Consider the floor is yours, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Dear Madam Chairperson, dear colleagues, members of the Policy Council, please allow me to welcome you on behalf of the Sakha government. The Sakha Republic Yakutia is the heart of the permanent frost and home to more than 135 nationalities, a place where the languages and unique traditions of the indigenous peoples of the North have been preserved for centuries. It is precisely this experience of human coexistence with the harsh nature and with each other that is the topic of our discussion. For us, for the residents of the far north and the Arctic, issues of cultural rights have never been an abstract theory. In the face of climate change, melting permafrost, and global challenges, culture is becoming a matter of physical and spiritual survival. And we see how climate change threatens the infrastructure and traditional way of life for indigenous peoples. But we also know that it's the traditional culture of indigenous peoples that preserves the unique ecological knowledge that is necessary for human adaptation. And ignoring the cultural characteristics of a region makes any climate or social policy inherently ineffective. In Yakutia, we have learned to perceive culture not as a sphere of service, but as the infrastructure of life and key to the future. And following the principles laid out in the UCLG Pact for the Future of Humanity, we view culture as the foundation of peace and environmental responsibility. And we have also integrated the International Federation of Library Associations' message of culture as a public good into our daily practices. An example of this is the world's largest epic centers, particularly the Olanho Theater. The Arctic Epic and Art Center, which will soon open, will become a spiritual center, the epicenter of cultural life in the Republic and the Arctic zone. The creation of the center is a logical step in response to the profound need to preserve and enhance the unique cultural heritage of the North and the Arctic, pass it on to the future generation, and reveal its beauty and wisdom to the world. The Olanho epic is more than just a tale. It is a living thread connecting us with the past, defining our present, and shaping our future. The ancient epic heritage in our republic is no longer a museum exhibit. It has become a growth point for the creative economy, tourism, and the development of the urban environment. It is a source of particular pride that in 2005, the Yakut heroic epic Olanho was recognized by UNESCO as a masterpiece of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity. Here in Yakutia, we have adopted the state program, which is called Preservation and Development of State and Official Languages in the Sakha Republic Yakutia, because we are convinced that language is more than just a means of communication. It is a complete picture of the world and direct contribution to the implementation of the principles of the new Global Charter on Caring Territories. Because for us, a caring territory is a space where people hear their native language and see their identity reflected in the architecture of neighborhoods and urban design. Today, we stand on the threshold of an important historic decision. The pandemic and geopolitical events of recent years have demonstrated that dialogue is impossible without culture. By participating in international Arctic forums, Yakutia has learned firsthand that cultural diplomacy is an important bridge for mutual understanding between peoples. And that is why we're convinced that the time has come to achieve a global goal on culture. including culture in the global development architecture as a separate sustainable development goal, for example, SDG 18, offers territories like our Arctic an opportunity to gain international legitimacy and resources for preserving intangible cultural heritage. The Sakha Republic Yakutia is ready to support this step. We are already integrating culture into our development strategies through educational programs, through the study of native languages and oral traditions, into the environmental agenda through the protection of sacred sites and unique ecosystems, and into the economy through support for creative industries and traditional nature management. Dear colleagues, we call on all UCLG members to join efforts to implement the local social covenant and the new global charter. And I propose that the Policy Council include a clause on cultural rights in the Tangier final document. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. Thanks to you, Councillor, and for making the link between cultural heritage and how this directly affects the way we develop urban systems and urban environments. Also for connecting heritage and the importance of native learning and knowledge to how do we make this development and how especially we protect the resources, especially in such an area of yours that it's that rich and strategic in the way forward. So thank you again for this, also for mentioning the importance of this global goal on culture that I'm sure that our colleagues from the Committee on Culture are cheering you on this effort and the whole of the organization. As you know, this is a year of review of the HLPF, so important also to have this message as part of the way forward in the Covenant. Thank you again. I will now give the floor to Mrs. Fatimata Sao. She's a councillor of Tebrak Zeina and also a member of our UCLG Women Caucus. Madame Sao, si vous êtes prête, councilleur, à vous la parole. Merci pour nous rejoindre aujourd'hui.
Bonjour, j'espère que vous m'entendez.
Oui, on vous entend très bien, merci.
Ok. Bonjour, Madame et Messieurs. Je vous remercie pour cette invitation et pour l'opportunité de contribuer à cet échange important dans le cadre de la coalition sociale locale. Je m'exprime aujourd'hui en tant que conseillère municipale de la mairie de Tebrak Zeina à Nouakchott, où nous sommes vraiment quotidiennement confrontés aux défis sociaux liés à l'égalité, à la participation citoyenne et à la protection des droits des femmes. Dans nos villes, la culture influence beaucoup d'une manière dont les femmes et les hommes vivent et participent et exercent leurs droits. C'est pourquoi la culture doit être au cœur de nos politiques publiques. Sans transformation culturelle, il ne peut pas y avoir de véritable égalité. Dans ce sens, je suis convaincue que la culture ne se limite pas aux arts ou au patrimoine. Elle comprend également aussi les valeurs, les normes sociales et les comportements qui influencent profondément les relations entre les femmes et les hommes dans nos sociétés. Dans ce contexte, la culture peut être un facteur qui maintient certaines inégalités, soit un puissant levier de transformation sociale. Les violences faites aux femmes sont souvent liées à des stéréotypes et à des normes sociales profondément ancrées. C'est pourquoi il est essentiel d'agir aussi sur le plan culturel pour faire évaluer les mentalités. Les collectivités locales ont un rôle clé à jouer dans ce domaine, à travers les politiques culturelles, l'éducation, la sensibilisation et les initiatives locales. Nous pouvons promouvoir une culture de respect, de l'égalité et de la dignité. Je suis également convaincue que les droits culturels doivent être considérés comme une priorité locale. Les villes et les communes sont les espaces où les citoyens vivent, échangent et participent à la vie collective. Elles sont et de la participation de toutes et tous, y compris les femmes et des jeunes filles. Dans cette perspective, je pense qu'il est important de reconnaître pleinement la culture comme un pilier du développement durable et de soutien à l'idée à un objectif mondial dédié à la culture. Pour ma part, je m'engage à promouvoir des politiques locales fondées sur les droits culturels qui encouragent l'inclusion, la participation et l'égalité des chances. Je m'engage également à intégrer la dimension culturelle dans les différentes politiques publiques, notamment dans les actions visant à prévenir les violences faites aux femmes et à renforcer la cohésion sociale. Enfin, je voudrais souligner l'importance de la convergence entre la coalition sociale locale et la charte agenda mondiale des droits humains dans la ville, qui offre un cadre important pour renforcer une action locale fondée sur les droits humains et au service de nos citoyens. La culture peut être un moteur de changement. Ensemble, nous pouvons l'utiliser pour construire des sociétés plus justes, plus inclusives et plus égalitaires. Madame et Messieurs, je vous remercie pour cette attention. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup à vous, Madame. C'est un plaisir de vous écouter et surtout merci pour mettre dans les centres de votre intervention l'importance de valeurs et des normes sociales comme le point de départ pour changer des habitudes et des comportements, mais aussi pour ancrer des politiques publiques locales qui visent à finir avec des habitudes et des comportements qui ont été acceptés pour des années comme ce qui était normal. C'est pas le cas, donc merci encore une fois. Also, thank you for making this intervention linking culture and the importance of gender equality in a week that we are starting also as a municipal movement with the holding of the upcoming CSW Commission on the Status of Women that will kick off this week in New York, and that will count on a very large participation of elected leaders, in particular female elected leaders, as for in every year. You know that this is at the core of UCLG's as a political movement, but also of the local social covenant as a platform for ensuring that rights and that gender equality is at the center of the policies of the future and the rights of the future. So thank you again for your engagement and for your continued commitment with this cause. I will now give the floor to Mrs. Ramina Idirova, Deputy of the Bishkek City Council. Mrs. Idirova, the floor is yours, and thank you for joining.
Good morning, good afternoon. Can you hear me, dear colleagues?
Yes, perfect.
On behalf of the deputies of the Bishkek City Council, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak at the meeting of the Political Council of United Cities and Local Governments. For Bishkek, like a capital city of Kyrgyzstan, climate justice means, first of all, the right of more than 1.2 million residents to clean air and a safe urban environment. The main sources of pollution are coal heating in private homes, road transport. More than 500,000 vehicles are registered in the city, and thermal energy facilities. The most vulnerable groups, children, elderly people, and low-income families, suffer the most from air pollution. Therefore, for us, fighting smoke is not only an environmental issue, but also a matter of human rights. We are implementing systemic measures to address this problem. First, we are modernizing public transport. Over the past 2 years, more than 1,000 new buses have been purchased, including over 120 electric buses. All diesel minibuses are gradually being phased out. Second, we are expanding the gasification of residential areas. Today, the level of gasification in the capital exceeds 80%, which helps reduce the use of coal heating in the private sector, one of the main sources of winter smoke. Third, we continue to green the city. Every year, about 8,000 to 10,000 trees and shrubs are planted, and new green zones and public spaces are being created. I would also like to highlight an important step in waste management. At the end of 2025, Bishkek launched the first eco-plant for waste to energy at the city landfill. The project was implemented together with the Chinese company Yongxin. The plant has a capacity of up to 29 megawatts of electricity, and the total investment is about 95 million US dollars. It was built using modern emission control technologies and follows high environmental standards. This project helps to reduce the amount of waste sent to landfills, reduce methane emissions from waste, and generate electricity for the city. In this way, we combine environmental protection, energy, sustainability, and technological modernization. I would also like to emphasize that the Bishkek City Council is a representative body of local self-government. It approves city programs, the city budget, and development priorities and oversees their implementation. For Bishkek, climate justice is not just a declaration, it is reflected in real decisions, city policies, and responsibility to our residents. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Councillor, and thank you for laying out all these policies are at the center of one of the main services that a city can provide, which is urban mobility, and for working towards making them more sustainable and more anchored on climate justice. Thank you so much. I will now give the floor to the president of the Gambia Association of Local Government Authorities, GALGA. He's also the chairman of Basil Area Council. He's Mamadou Sesai. Yes, I see you. Welcome, President. It's a pleasure to have you with us. The floor is yours whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much, Albert. Good morning from the Gambia, the smiling coast of Africa. It's indeed a pleasure to join this important engagement. First, just people who are viewing, the Gambia is less than 3 million in population. As a president of the association, is a small country in West Africa. Greetings to colleagues down there. We'll go straight to respond to some of your questions as the documents highlighted or shared with us during via email. By looking at the question one, looking at the conflict, local conflict prevention must address tension and instability beyond armed confrontation. For us in the Gambia, we quite agree. We indeed concur with this. The prevention of local conflict. The prevention of local conflict is increasingly recognized as a complex undertaking that must extend beyond the suppression of
We are having some difficulties. I don't know if he's still in the call. Otherwise, we can. No, I believe he had problems with the bandwidth. We can go then in the meantime with the following speakers, and colleagues will try to connect Mr. Sesai again. It's a pleasure to call to take the stage Mr. Yong-Soo Park. He's the director of the Office of Democracy, Human Rights and Peace of the city of Gwangju in South Korea, the Republic of Korea. Mr. Park, welcome. Thank you for being here with us today, and the floor is.
Good morning. My name is Yong-Soo Park. I am the Director General for Democracy, Human Rights and Peace in Gwangju, South Korea. I'm here on behalf of Mayor Gang to join this important discussion. Today, we are connecting the local social covenant with the global charter agenda for human rights in the city, under shared vision based on human rights. This discussion is more than just about policy. It is the start of a new way to provide public service that protect the dignity and rights of every citizen. Gwangju supports all 8 key policy goals in the covenant. I'd like to share 3 examples from my city. First, a new way of providing care. Our Gwangju Style Integrated Care project builds a strong and inclusive social safety net. We believe that care is not only a welfare service, it is a basic right for everyone to enjoy. That's why we are creating an integrated system that supports all citizens so that no one is left behind. Second, expanding the role of local government in public health. In Gwangju, public health is not just about hospitals or medicine. It is a core duty of local government. For example, we operate late-night children's hospitals and pharmacies so that parents can get help even at night. This initiative shows how the principles of the Global Charter Agenda for Human Rights can work at local level. Third, our work for climate justice. The climate crisis is not only an environmental issue, it also increases social inequality. Gwangju aims to become a carbon neutral city by 2045 with stronger energy independence and smart energy management. We make sure that justice and fairness remain central to climate policies so that weak groups are protected. We all know that the political guidelines we discussed today will help to shape the outcome of the Tanjiye World Congress. As a human rights city, Gwangju will continue to cooperate and stand in solidarity with other cities so that today's talks become real actions in cities around the world. Let us move forward together toward the future where everyone's rights are fully respected and protected. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for your intervention, for how you have placed public health at the center of and climate justice at the center of the endeavors. Not only that the local social covenant and the charter agenda are trying to achieve, but also by presenting concrete cases of the city of Gwangju. As you know, Gwangju has a very long and strong track record of policies that put human rights at the center. It's one of the leading cities of our work on that area, and it's a real pleasure to count on your participation and on the active engagement of Gwangju in these both processes and today in particular. I see a message from Yolande, the Secretary General of Habitat International Coalition. It's always a pleasure to have you, Yolande, and I'm sure that we will have other occasions to engage. Thank you. While my colleagues try to reconnect with the councillor, the chairperson of the Galga Association, Mr. Sisay, we will now have a moment to hear from the other side of this conversation. As you know, at the beginning, we were mentioning the importance of this as a political dialogue between civil society organized in the town hall and the policy councils. And for this today, we have a very special guest from the Global Platform for the Right to the City, which is a town hall that has been leading not only the efforts on the thematic pillar on new essentials, but also coordinating the town hall as a whole. At the same time, they have been actively involved in the drafting and in the processing of the Global Charter, Agenda Charter for Human Rights in the City. He is Nelson Saul. Nelson, it's a pleasure to have you with us today, and for you to give us some reactions on what you've been hearing today, but also on how these two processes are combining together towards Tangier. Welcome and thank you.
Good morning from Brazil. Thank you, the colleagues from USALG, to invite the Global Platform for the Right to the City to join this important meeting today. The Global Platform for the Right to the City, since Habitat 3, 10 years ago, became a strong partner now with USALG, in special to strengthen the role of local governments for promoting public policies, in special for effectiveness of human rights in the city, based in the vision we got in the new urban agenda of the right to the city. In this year, the new urban agenda is already 10 years old, and we understand that USALG, which brings together thousands of local governments, local authorities, is a strategic piece for the implementation of the commitments of this global agenda, together with SDGs, special SDGs 11, mentioned about the sustainable cities, for the implementation about human rights. We are collaborating with this new chapter, the human rights in the cities. We considering many interventions, the colleagues in this meeting, we understand the main challenge is for the local governments can have more autonomy, more strong institutional capacity, and also more financial capacity to provide the public services for the inhabitants in the city. We understand the civil society organizations like the Global Platform Right to the City can collaborate with this institutional strengthening to get the more effective participation of communities in the cities with the local authority in the promotion of essential public services. We understand the connections between the process, the social governance, and this process, the new charter, the human rights in the city, is one important topic is already in the chapter about the rights of the cities, in special the rights to strengthen institutional local governments. I think this topic, I mentioned more decentralization, more autonomy, to have more capacity to get fundings in the international level, but also in the national level, and the democracy, especially the tools for the participation of the civil society, could be one relevant piece to make the connections between the process, the social governments, and the process, the elaboration of the new charter agenda, until the congresses. I think this is collaboration you want to share your propose in special these recommendations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nelson, and thank you for laying all these different elements that can connect and can help us mainstream what the local social covenant is discussing and how these can be operationalized through what the Agenda Charter is putting together, also for bringing to the conversation the right to the city, which is at the core of both processes, but also looking into the 10th anniversary of the new urban agenda. As you know, we will campaign again next to the global platform for the right to the city on that matter, and to also making the link to finance, but also to participatory mechanisms. 2 weeks ago already, in our annual retreat, we had the opportunity to host a workshop co-presented by the platform and UCLG on public community partnerships and how to actually create and scale up participatory mechanisms to make sure that democracy is more inclusive and it's more it guarantees ownership in the process from grassroots and civil society movements. Colleagues, I believe that we still don't have the president of Basin area and Galga, Mr. Sesai. What we want to show you in the meantime is how we are collecting all these policy recommendations that you are presenting us today. Colleagues, if we can see the mural exercise that my colleagues are executing in the back end while you present your recommendations, here we go. So for you to also understand how this will work, these nodes are collecting your recommendations and will be at the core of the document, of the political outcome document that Tangier will see approved. A slighter version of it will be presented to our executive bureau a month from now in Mexico City as part of the statutory documents that will be put on availability. But for you to also understand how we are trying to make sure that we collect this process and for you to understand how we are framing this dialogue. As you see, these infographics recollect the priorities that the letters from the local social covenant presented by civil society had, and these sticky notes are basically the answers that we are collecting from all of you. Before I believe that Mr. Sesai is still not among us, so given we want to also give you the floor to those that haven't had the opportunity to speak. If you want to share reflections on what you have heard today or concrete policy recommendations that you would like to bring to the table from your respective cities or organizations. Otherwise, I don't see any hands, but colleagues, let me know if I'm missing some, because sometimes hands do not appear. Yes, I see a hand, Shams Azadi. Shams, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us. You were there in the workshop in the annual retreat 2 weeks ago. Welcome.
Yeah, I mean, it is such a pleasure to see the continuation of the retreat that we had like 2 weeks ago in Barcelona. My name is Shams Azadi. I am the Human Rights Commissioner of the city of Vienna. It is a huge pleasure to see a lot of politicians, that elected people, that they are here today and they are completely online. But really, we cities, we think and we have worked in the last years for the new Charter agenda. And of course, the local social covenant is also a huge challenge and work that you have done with politicians, and it shows that it is really how compatible two instruments they are, and we are looking forward to implement it and to bring it to the cities. And I guess it is such a good instrument that really we can just stock on that and implement it. And I'm very happy that we have also today the subjects like financing and just climate and culture, they come because they are the fundament of the human rights. And we are going to let's in the next 10 years to implement our global charter. Many thanks for this session and for the preparation and everything. And I'm really excited to see the results of the whole notes. And let's hope so in Tangier we will meet and we are going to have discussion on that. Thank you once more.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's a pleasure again having you with us today, and thank you also for your political leadership, not only in Vienna but also within the process of the Agenda Charter. I know my colleagues here, Julia and Adria, will agree with me on that sense. It's a real privilege. Thank you, colleagues. Other hands? I see no more comments. In that case, we will be concluding our session a bit earlier. We will get you back 15 minutes of your Monday morning or afternoon. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Maire. Un plaisir. Merci pour rester avec nous toute la session, malgré le moment de campagne politique. Et bonne chance et bon courage pour la suite. Thank you, colleagues, for joining us again. It's a pleasure, and you will soon see the results of this process. Thank you.
Thank you.